In this lecture, we are going to be creating the Authentication Controller. So this is going to be a controller that will be using to handle a login, a register, and also to show the various views. So this is typical of an MVC application. The term MVC stands for Modem View Controller, which essentially means that it has three components, basic components actually, because it can actually have other components. So the three basic components will be a model, which is basically how we interact with our database, where we get our data from. And also we have a view, which is what we display to the user. And then we have a controller, which handles all of the process. So basically there will be a router which actually takes the request from the user and then pass along this request to the controller that is designed to actually handle that request. So in our case, for our login and registration form, what we've been using so far is using a closure. So when the router takes the request, it sends it over to the closure through the dispatcher. So what we now want to do is to create a controller. So we want to create a controller for our login and sign off stop. So we want to quickly use the Legato command line tool to create a controller. So I'm going to open my command line text editor. And then right here, I'm going to say PHP Legato add controller. So we're going to specify the name of the controller. But right now, I also want to place my controller inside of a folder called Auth. So I specify the name of the folder where I want to place my authentication controller. And then I now specify the name of the controller. So this will be Auth controller. So what the Legato inbuilt command line tool will do for me is to create this folder and then create a file inside of this folder, which will be called authcontroller.php. That will be a class. The next thing we want to do now is open our text editor. And right here, you can see that there's a new folder inside of controllers. And right here, we can see the file that was actually created, authcontroller, which extends the base controller. So the first thing that we want to do here is to create the methods that we'll be using to display our login form and also our sign up form. So the first one will be show login form. So we're just going to grab this, paste it here, and then this one will be show sign up form. So what we now want to do is take the name of this controller, come inside of our router file. So we are now going to replace the closure. So let's start with the very first one. So let's delete the closure. And then here we want to specify the handler and the method. So the handler will now be app controller. So that will be controllers, and then the controllers will be auth controller. And then now we want to specify the name of the method. So this will be show sign up form. So if we're not sure, we can always just get back again to the controller, just grab the name here and then just paste it here to ensure that the method actually matches. So that is for the sign up form, to display the form. So the next one will be to actually sign up the user. So let's come here and then paste this here. So right here, we can just say sign up. So for the sign up, we have the post and we also have the get. So for get, it's going to show the form. For post, it's going to post to this particular method. So we're going to do the same thing for the login form. So I'm going to copy this, then come here, replace the closure with what I just copied. So this will now be show login form. Then grab this. Then the next one now will be login. So maybe we want to add one more called activation. So that will be a get route. So we can say auth / activation. Then we can send that to a method called activate. And then here should be activation code. So right here for our activation route, it requires a parameter. So we need to specify that when the user comes to this route, there should be a parameter in the URL. So we can say that this parameter can be any letter. Then we want to identify it with code. So the asterisk here means that we are allowing any character. So if we want to restrict this to an integer, as I showed you previously, we can just set this to I. And then here we can say ID or leave it as code. But right now with the asterisk, we are allowing any character. And then I think one more will be for logout. So let's just grab this and then come here. So let's say logout. And then let's say logout. And then let's say the method is logout. So we have a few methods to create. The first one is sign up, second one is login, the third one is activate, and then the last one is logout. So let's now go inside of Auth Controller and create all of these methods. So public function, sign up, and then here public function, login, and then next public function, activate, and then public function, logout. So these are all of the functions that we need for our basic authentication. So we have login form, sign up, login, activate, and logout. So which corresponds to the 6 routes that we also created here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so this one is for the home page. So let's come back here and then just say we want to show a view. So return view auth dot login or /login. And then here we can say return view auth /register. For activate, we want to say return view auth /activation. So remember that we created the activation view here, activation.blade.php. That's all we need to do right now. In the next video, we are now going to begin writing the actual code to actually start the process of registering a user. So probably we start from validation and then we proceed to actually persisting the data in the database. Basically all of the things that we need to do to build a secured login system.